Anyone who follows the channel closely knows that I did not upload a review video for Chapter 404, which focused on Hulkenberg's plan, and instead I moved directly to analyzing the other chapters. The reason for this is that I wanted to understand some points from certain episodes of the Chimera Ant arc and connect them with Chapter 404 and what happened to Hulkenberg. Therefore, in this video, we will cover only 3.5 chapters related to the negotiation game. After that, in the next video, we will analyze and review Chapter 404 and the second half of Chapter 410, which is about the customary law and what happened between Princes Hulkenberg and Benjamin, and we will also present some ideas that you won't find anywhere else. It is no secret to most of you here that Togashi is a lover of games. We have a picture of him playing in Meteor City. His story is also filled with games. For example, in the Hunter exam arc, we had tests in the form of a game. In the Zoldyck arc, we had the coin toss game. We had an entire arc about the Greed Island game. We had the Gungi and Arrow games in the Chimera Ant arc. So it was expected that Togashi would invent a new game in the Succession War arc. Welcome to the impression, explanation, and analysis of the 4 chapters from the Hunter x Hunter manga related to the negotiation game between Morena and Broxine. Before we start explaining the chapter, let us go back to Chapter 397, where Tserriednich's friends appeared for the first time. The summary of that chapter is that Tserriednich's friends, with their intelligence and analysis, reached several important conclusions. The most important were that Morena was searching for them and knew their appearances, that the 4th prince was learning Nen, and that their highest priority was survival and escaping from Morena. That chapter ended with an important question. If Morena captured one of them, would they leave him to his fate or help him? And Broxine's answer at that time was, let's think about that possibility. Also, from previous chapters, we know that Morena wanted 2 things: a soldier from the 4th Prince's army in order to monitor Tserriednich, and someone of the innate type, meaning a person whose Hatsu type is specialization, for her plan. And it happened that Broxine had both of these traits, as we saw in this chapter. That is why Dogman and Sodom kidnapped her and brought her to Morena. The chapter begins on the 3rd level, where we see that Prince Hulkenberg's funeral is continuing towards the 2nd level. Although this is a simple observation outside the analysis, I believe most of you here remember the scene of the hunters attacking Yupi. Anyway, the events move to Tserriednich's friends. We see that Atoshin informs them that Broxine has disappeared, and since, as we said, they agreed to stay out of sight and escape from Morena, they immediately jumped to the most dangerous conclusion, which is that Broxine was kidnapped by Morena. At first, they started analyzing how a ready and alert soldier could be kidnapped without anyone noticing, but Atoshin immediately jumped to the correct conclusion and said it was possible that she was kidnapped using a Nen ability. Atoshin is a character who started to shake my doubts a little. If we go back again to Chapter 394, he was the first to mention the term Nen to the group and directly concluded that Morena's members were users of it. The person who told Atoshin about Nen was Broxine, but the speed of his conclusions and how he connected the matter to Morena, and now being the first to conclude that Broxine was kidnapped by a Nen ability, makes him a bit suspicious. The question here is, what are you suspicious of, Psycho, regarding this character? The answer is that he might be one of Beyond's children and is secretly using Nen for some reason. This possibility is very weak, but when I remember that Beyond's children are the same age as Longhi, Sarkov, and Theta, this doubt definitely comes to me. As I said, the chance that this is true is very low, but let's keep the idea in mind in case something else suspicious appears about this character. As we said in Chapter 394, they were thinking about what they would do if Morena captured one of them, and it seems that the answer they agreed upon at that moment is exactly what the soldier mentioned in this chapter. No negotiation, no contact, no attempt at rescue. Anyway, this is not very important because we know that Broxine will return to her companions, but it is nice to see the seriousness of Tserriednich's soldiers here when they decided that they would not rescue anyone if he got kidnapped. And here lies Togashi's brilliance in these small details. We move to the most important event and the beginning of the negotiation game. Broxine wakes up to find herself in front of Morena and her members, and immediately realizes that she has been kidnapped and that the person in front of her is Morena. Morena gets straight to the point and clarifies that her goal is to recruit Broxine into her group, and the reason is that she needs Broxine for her plan. It is similar to Broxine being an organ donor, perfectly suited for her and her plan. Broxine finds herself in a dangerous situation. Being a smart soldier, she assessed the situation and neither rejected nor accepted. She said that her answer, whether acceptance or refusal, would depend on the conditions she would hear. Morena responds that not accepting or rejecting immediately is a wise decision, but she warns her that the longer the conversation drags on, the greater the danger for both herself and Broxine. Instead of wasting time, Morena proposes a game where Broxine can learn the conditions of joining and everything she wants to know, with a chance to leave safely. But if Broxine refuses to accept this game, she will only have two choices left: either accept or reject, without knowing what will happen to her if she chooses to refuse, or what will happen if she chooses to accept and join. And from here begins the negotiation game and the battle of wits between these two characters. Before I start explaining the game and its rules, I want you to focus on 2 points. First, do not worry about not understanding the game, because I will explain it in a simple way. What matters is not memorizing the cards, but understanding the consequences of using them. Second, I want you to understand a simple point before we see the game. Currently, Broxine has 2 options: either yes, meaning she joins Morena's group, or no, meaning she refuses to join. Broxine's problem is that she does not know what will happen to her if she chooses either of the 2 answers. If she chooses yes, she does not know the negatives of that choice. Will they use her as a scapegoat or exploit her? Or will she be treated well and become a companion under certain conditions? And if she chooses no, will they let her leave peacefully, or will they kill her or torture her? Both options in Broxine's mind are dangerous, and answering yes or no is equally risky. You must understand that Broxine, unlike you as the reader, does not currently have complete information, and you must also understand that answering either yes or no carries the same level of danger. This negotiation game is what will reveal everything to her. Let's now begin by explaining the game in a simple way, and afterwards we will explain the cards. The game consists of 2 people, the father and the son. The father holds 7 cards and the son holds 5 cards. The core of the game is that the father has a request for the son, and the game ends when the son makes a choice. The answer will be the last remaining card in the son's hand. The father's 7 cards are all placed face up, and the son can choose any card he wants. Meanwhile, the son's 5 cards are placed face down, and choosing from them relies on luck. The son chooses first, and then it is the father's turn. Any card chosen by either side is sent to the graveyard. This process repeats until there is only 1 card left in the son's hand. This remaining card will be the answer to Morena's request for Broxine to join her group. Now let's start by explaining the son's cards. The first card is yes, and its explanation is simple. It means Broxine will accept to join Morena's group. The second card is no, meaning the opposite. Broxine will automatically refuse to join Morena. But I want you to remember, as we said earlier, that both answers are currently unknown to Broxine, and there's no difference in risk between them. For example, if joining Morena means they will exploit her by planting a bomb in her body and refusal means they will kill her, then both answers are dangerous for Broxine. The third card is rewind, and this card allows Broxine to bring back a card from the graveyard. The fourth card is Joker, and this card can transform into either a yes card or a no card, depending on what Broxine wants. The fifth and final card is Unknown, meaning no answer. This card ends the negotiations between the father and the son as if the game never happened. Broxine is not required to answer anything and can leave Morena's base unharmed. Before we move on to the father's cards, let's play this game between you and me, using only the son's cards. This will help you understand the game better. I'm the father and you're the son. My request is for you to subscribe to the channel. Let's move to the final turn. If the yes card remains last, you will subscribe. If the no card remains last, you will not subscribe. But remember, Broxine is not like you. She does not know the risks of either answer. If the Joker card remains, you have the option to subscribe or not. If the Unknown card remains, you're free to either subscribe or not. Essentially, the game is like it never happened. If the rewind card remains, you can bring back any card from the graveyard and choose the answer that suits you. You can select either the no card, the joker, or the unknown card. All of these allow you to reject the request. Note that 4 out of the 5 cards allow you to refuse the request, but Broxine, unlike you, sees both yes and no answers as equally dangerous at this moment. Even the Joker card is just as risky for her. The 2 cards that, in Broxine's view, could save her are the unknown card and the rewind card. Broxine's thinking is mostly correct, because answering no means she will be killed immediately, and answering yes means several things will be forced upon her, as we will see at the end of the game. Now let's move on to the Father's 7 cards. The Father's cards are also easy to understand. Focus with me. The first card is the goal card. If Broxine chooses it, Morena will explain her goal behind the kidnapping and why she needs her. She will also answer any side questions, as long as the question is related to the goal. The second card is the power card. If Broxine chooses it, Morena will explain everything about her power and answer any questions related to her ability. The third card is card A. If Broxine chooses it, Morena will answer all questions Broxine asks, except for questions related to the goal or the power. However, Morena will not provide detailed answers. She will only answer with yes, no, or yes and no together. The fourth card is card B. If Broxine chooses this, Morena will answer only the last question Broxine asked while using card A, but this time she will provide a detailed response. The fifth and sixth cards are the yes and no cards. Their role is to answer and explain what will happen to Broxine if she chooses yes or no. In simpler terms, the yes and no cards on Morena's side correspond to the yes and no cards on Broxine's side. So, if Broxine wants to know what will happen if she accepts or refuses to join, she needs to choose one of these 2 cards. The seventh and final card is the deal card. With this card, Broxine can bring back a card from the graveyard, but there's one condition. She must fulfill a small request from Morena. Morena will explain this request, and if Broxine refuses it, the turn ends and the card is discarded into the graveyard. If you find it difficult to understand, you can rewatch the explanation, and I'm sure you'll understand. Before we move on to explain the game, let's pause to address some of the conditions and questions that Broxine stipulated. The first thing is that there will be no cheating, and this has been confirmed. The second thing is that Broxine will choose the cards for Morena, meaning she will select cards from both the father's and the son's sides. The third thing is the explanation and proper handling of answers in a negated inquiry. Here, Togashi gives a reference to Japanese people in particular. For example, let's say you went to Japan with your friend, but your friend got lost. So, you went to a Japanese person and asked, "Have you seen my friend?" The Japanese person wouldn't answer, "No, I haven't seen him." Instead, they would say, "Yes," and then follow up with, "I haven't seen him." Togashi clarified that when the Japanese person answers with, "Yes," it is to confirm to the person asking that they heard the question. And here, Morena confirmed that there will be no manipulation in the answers, meaning she will answer truthfully and transparently, with no cheating. Now let's begin the game. Broxine starts by choosing the goal card, which means Morena will answer in detail about her goal. She says her goal is the collapse of the Kakin kingdom, followed by the destruction of all humanity. In order to achieve this goal, she needs Broxine. Broxine responds that Morena's explanation is not enough, and that her understanding is only 3 out of 100. Morena then says it would be best to start talking about her past, so that Broxine can understand her well. She explains that she is not the real Morena Prodo, and that she is not from the Nisumono like Onyor and Broccoli, and not even from the royal family. The real Morena Prodo is currently lying in the grave of this fake Morena. Morena's story begins with the Carnival, a festival held by the Kakin kingdom every few years, where the royal procession visits a random village and holds a feast. During this feast, all the villagers selected are divided into 2 categories. One category is for entertainment, and the other is for non-entertainment. I'm sure you understand what those terms mean. Morena says her mother was deprived of sleep and rest for several days, just to entertain the royal family. She even lost her sanity and didn't realize she was pregnant. Her mother died 2 years after giving birth to Morena. Also, all orphans of this carnival have their faces scarred, and they are sent to a special institute. This institute is the headquarters of a human trafficking organization run by the Hai Li family. Due to the royal family's lore on the sanctity of the royal bloodline, in addition to the secrecy of the carnival, where everything that happens remains confidential, any attempt to abort a fetus or subject it to genetic testing is strictly forbidden. This is considered an act of national treason and an insult to the royal bloodline, and it is punishable by death. At this institute, the children from the carnival are divided into two categories. One category is called meat, like this fake Morena, and this group undergoes various experiments with drugs and medicines. They are essentially human test subjects. The other category is the Nisumono, like Anyor and Broccoli, and the real Morena who died. It is clear that there is a long story between the real Morena and this fake Morena, and how she became the leader. Togashi did not go into details, and only mentioned that the real Morena now rests in the grave of this fake Morena. I believe that a flashback is coming that will reveal all the hidden details about this matter. What matters for now is that we know the fake Morena spent 20 years as meat in that institute. During that time, she realized that she possessed an extraordinary talent, her special Nen ability. It seems the situation was similar to Machi, who could see aura when she was still a child. Morena is one of those types with a strong, natural, sensory perception of Nen. Morena then continues with an important point. This carnival is a festival without a fixed date, and it is held randomly. The orphans who are sent to the institute are categorized by the last 2 digits of their birth year. Morena's year is 98. During her 20 years at the institute, 7 new batches were admitted. The last batch arrived just last year, meaning the most recent carnival was held 2 years ago, the same year when the Kakin kingdom transitioned into a democracy. In other words, the root of Morena's desire to destroy Kakin and the world, or at least when she began seriously thinking about it, comes from her immense hatred and resentment toward the injustice suffered by ordinary civilians because of the carnival, an injustice that continues even after the state's major political change. To achieve her goal, she needed companions who shared a similar objective and had special abilities, and the one who would play the most crucial role in this plan is Broxine. That is why Morena kidnapped her and wants to recruit her. It is clear that in order for Morena's plan to be completed, she needs a specific ability from the specialist category. With this ability, she would be able to complete all parts of the puzzle. What exactly this ability is has not been revealed, and even guessing it is difficult. However, what is certain is that Togashi has shifted Broxine's character from a near secondary figure, who had only appeared a few times, into a major player in the succession war and its outcome. Very few writers can pull off such a move. The flexibility and seamless way Togashi integrated Broxine into the story is a truly impressive feat. Before continuing with the events, I want to throw out a second theory for discussion, though I don't believe it's very likely. We know that, as we will see in upcoming chapters, Benjamin has illegitimate children, meaning some of them could be orphans from the carnival. It so happens that one of Morena's members, who was present during the negotiation game, has a scar near her eyelashes. Could she be one of Benjamin's children? Or is it just a far-fetched theory? We don't know for sure, but it's something worth keeping in mind as the story progresses. Now let's continue with the events. After Broxine picked the first card, it was Morena's turn. The card that was flipped was the Joker card. Thus it was sent to the graveyard. For Broxine, this card held no real value, since she had not yet decided whether to accept or reject the offer, nor had she obtained all the explanations she sought. After the Joker card was discarded, it was time for Broxine to choose her second card. The card she selected was the Power card. Through it, Morena would answer all questions related to her Nen ability. Thus, Morena explained Nen to Broxine and also elaborated on her ability, Severing Love. Of course, we already know much about this, but the new information revealed during this game is that Morena's ability falls under a newly introduced Nen category, the System type. The System category likely involves abilities that lean toward games and strict rules. It is possible that one of the creators of Greed Island, alongside Ging Freaks, also had a System-type ability. Additionally, we later learn that there are 3 conditions required to join Morena. Answer yes during the negotiation game. Kiss her to allow the ability transfer. Be present at the killing theater when Morena, or one of her members, commits murder. At this point, Broxine asks Morena an important question. Morena had said that she only recruits members who share the same goal as her. However, she also mentioned that she asks each member about their different personal goals. So, if each member has a different goal, doesn't that contradict her original statement? Morena clarifies that the grand, common goal among all members is killing people. Each member may have their own reasons, targets, and circumstances, differing in form and number, but the primary, unifying goal is murder itself. To make this even clearer, there are 3 conditions we previously mentioned that one must meet to join Morena's group, and there is a 4th condition, sharing the same overall goal. This 4th condition isn't related to Morena's Nen ability. It is simply a personal requirement she demands, unlike the other 3 conditions, which are tied directly to the mechanics of her ability. As we know, Broxine will eventually join Morena's group, but she does not truly share their goal of mass killing. Broxine then poses another important question. Morena had explained earlier that Nen abilities are closely linked to a person's character and personality. So how could Morena know about a dormant ability within Broxine, an ability that hadn't even awakened yet, and that it would fit perfectly into her plan? Despite barely knowing Broxine herself, Morena answers by revealing that she knew Broxine was a specialist, thanks to Dogman's ability. She explains that Dogman developed a Nen ability that allows him to sniff out people's potential abilities. He honed this skill to such a degree that he can even distinguish specialists among non-Nen users. Currently, Dogman is on a mission to find more specialists beyond Broxine. According to Morena's estimation, there is roughly 1 specialist among every 3,000 people, which means there are likely 50 to 60 specialists aboard the ship. Morena would be satisfied recruiting any of them as long as they share the same goal. Broxine, however, is considered the ideal candidate because Morena also wants to keep an eye on Tserriednich. This explains why Morena had stated at the beginning of their negotiation, the longer they drag out the discussions, the more danger Broxine will be in. We also learn from this conversation that Dogman has already found Crollo. Togashi is clearly setting the stage for an upcoming battle between Crollo and Dogman. Let's remember, Crollo's goal is very close to Morena's goal. He, too, is searching for a specific ability. I'm almost certain that this ability Crollo seeks is the same ability that Broxine will eventually awaken. Although, to be fair, this is just a personal theory and not something confirmed yet. Discussing this possibility would take a long time, so I'll save it for a separate, dedicated video. For now, let's stay focused on continuing the explanation of the negotiation game. After hearing Morena's detailed explanation about Nen and her own ability, Broxine wanted to get more information specifically about the specialist type and the ability she might obtain. Morena replied that this question is connected to the yes and no cards. However, she still explains the general concept of the specialist type, and she also reveals that she herself is a specialist with specific requirements she hopes to see in Broxine's future ability. Morena tells Broxine that if she chooses the yes card, she will reveal the role Broxine would play and the ability she desires from her. The game continues. It's now Morena's turn, and she draws the yes card from Broxine's side, meaning that at this moment, Broxine's decision not to join Morena is officially confirmed. However, we already know that Broxine will later overturn this decision and join Morena's group by the end of the game. At this point, the expressions of Morena's members show clear disappointment. Broxine notices their reactions carefully and confirms to herself that they are playing fair without cheating. Morena admits that there's nothing she can do except keep trying her best in the negotiation. She also points out an important distinction between the no card and the unknown card, and asks Broxine if she would like to know the difference. Broxine responds that she does want to know. In her next move, Broxine draws the no card, and Morena begins explaining the difference between the 2 cards. This part truly made me appreciate Togashi's writing even more. The no card means that Broxine will never join Morena's group, absolutely and permanently, whereas the unknown card means that, From the perspective of the story, the negotiation game never happened at all. It's as if Broxine and Morena had never met. If the no card remains in Broxine's possession at the end of the game, and she doesn't join Morena, she will be killed immediately because she now knows sensitive information about them. But if the unknown card remains, Broxine still won't join. Yet Morena will trust her and treat her as if the encounter never occurred. Morena wouldn't try to contact her again, nor would she threaten or harm Broxine or any of her friends. At this point, a very natural question might come to your mind. Why exactly would Broxine be killed if she holds the no card, but left unharmed if she holds the unknown card? This same question occurred to Broxine herself. She directly asked Morena, "The unknown card sounds incredibly dangerous for you. Surely it must offer you some kind of benefit in return." And here came Morena's brilliant explanation. As we already know, in the world of Nen, the more conditions, risks, and self-imposed restrictions you add to your ability, the stronger and more dangerous it becomes. Take, for example, the silent majority ability. The user made the snakes visible to everyone and imposed a deadly condition. If they target someone and fail to kill them, the snakes would turn on the user themselves. The creator of silent majority could have easily made the snakes invisible and avoided such a self-destructive risk. However, in that case, the ability would have been far weaker, and the snakes would not have been capable of draining blood or killing targets so quickly. By raising the stakes and accepting real danger, the user made the ability far deadlier. The same logic applies to Morena and the unknown card. Even though allowing someone to leave with deep knowledge of her secrets, abilities, and parts of her plan is a huge risk, this risk significantly enhances the overall power of her Nen ability. The core principle is simple. The more the limitations and oaths, the greater the resulting strength. This is a fundamental rule of Nen. But now look at the genius in Togashi's writing. This risk-reward system doesn't only apply to Morena, it also applies to Broxine herself. If Broxine eventually decides to join Morena, this means she has willingly walked the line of death during the negotiation. Thus, the Nen ability she awakens will also be much stronger because of the life-threatening tension she endured. And this is one of the main reasons why Morena's followers have achieved such massive power gains in such a short time. There's something important that just occurred to me while preparing this video, a realization I hadn't fully considered before. In the past, I often wondered, why didn't Morena simply grant her ability to her members while they were killing former Hylia members? If she had done that, she could have entered the Black Whale with a crew of Nen users right from the start, all of them already at a higher combat level. But now I think I finally understand. This was yet another calculated risk Morena deliberately took upon herself, a dangerous gamble designed to further strengthen her ability and accelerate the development of Nen within her followers. Remember, in earlier chapters, Morena's members would constantly ask her very basic, beginner-level questions about Nen, and yet she never gave them straightforward answers. She would only hint at the truth, forcing them to figure it out on their own. This strategy wasn't laziness or indifference. It was a carefully planned method to deepen their understanding of Nen and push them to grow stronger through trial, struggle, and self-reliance. There's a lot more I want to say about Morena's ability and how she plans to use it to destroy Kakin and possibly the entire world. But I'll save that discussion for a dedicated video. So make sure to subscribe, because the real chaos is just getting started. Returning to the negotiation game, Broxine draws another card, and this time it's the unknown card, which is immediately sent to the graveyard. Now Broxine has only 2 cards left, the no card and the retry card. Just as Broxine was preparing to draw a card from Morena's side, Togashi once again throws the Black Whale into chaos. The announcement of martial law on the ship is made. The army seizes control of all 3 branches of power, exactly as we discussed in detail in the video covering Chapter 402. As I mentioned earlier, this video is focused solely on the negotiation game. We'll save the major analysis of Hulkenberg's plan against Benjamin and the martial law situation for the next video, so make sure you're subscribed. Things are heating up fast. For now, what matters is how martial law impacts the negotiation between Morena and Broxine. Broxine notices that even Morena herself shows signs of tension upon hearing the news. This leads Broxine to deduce that Morena must be located on one of the upper decks, since live broadcasts from decks 3 and above don't reach the 4th and 5th decks. Seizing this opportunity, Broxine interrupts Morena's flow of thought and quickly chooses the deal card. Morena comments, clearly surprised at how calm Broxine remains, and admits that she didn't expect martial law to be declared at this timing. Now, you might wonder, how did Morena know that martial law was even a possibility? The answer is simple. She wasn't the only one who foresaw it. Even Kurapika and Kaiser were anticipating it. After all, with Benjamin being the commander of the Kakin military, it was always likely that martial law would be invoked sooner or later, especially given the intense nature of the succession war. In this moment, Broxine notices the calmness and composure of Morena in the face of the news. From this, she deduces that discovering Morena's hideout is either extremely difficult or that Morena has the ability to defeat anyone who invades her lair. This assessment works in Broxine's favor, because if the army discovers that she is in the enemy's hideout, there could be serious consequences for her. Thus, at this point, the best option for her is to leave the game without any harm, using the unknown card. But as we know, the unknown card is now in the graveyard, so Broxine chooses to play the deal card from Morena's side in order to retrieve it. Now, just to clarify for everyone, the deal card allows Broxine to retrieve a card from the graveyard, but this comes with the condition that she must fulfill one of Morena's requests. And what is Morena's request? To kiss her, which is one of the conditions for transferring her ability. She also reminds Broxine of the 3 conditions we've discussed earlier. After Broxine fulfills the request, she gets back the unknown card. Now she has 3 cards in total. The unknown card she just retrieved from the graveyard, the no card which refuses her membership in Morena's team, the reinforcement card, which allows her to retrieve a card from the graveyard. Now, to avoid any confusion, the reinforcement card and the deal card are quite similar, but there is one key difference. The reinforcement card is in Broxine's possession, while the deal card is in Morena's side, and Broxine must fulfill one of Morena's requests to activate it. Before Morena's turn begins, Broxine requests to check the 2 cards to ensure that Morena hasn't cheated. Of course, we know that Broxine's true intention here is to place a small mark on the reinforcement card. This way, it will remain the last card, and she can escape safely by choosing any card from the graveyard. But let's not jump ahead, let's take it step by step. After the cards are shuffled, Broxine selects a card, and it turns out to be the unknown card, which allows her to leave the game unharmed. Morena smiles at the result, unaware that Broxine has cheated. Now, it's Morena's turn. Broxine picks question card A, which means she can ask Morena several questions, and Morena will answer either yes or no or both. Through this card, Broxine is able to gather several key pieces of information, including Morena's hideout is located between the 2nd and 3rd floors. Nen is used to enter and exit the hideout. There are 5 entrances and exits to the hideout. Morena has 21 members in her group. Morena will not break her promise if Broxine leaves safely. If the no card is the last one, death awaits Broxine. Morena is the only specialist in the group. Morena does not know the abilities of all of her members. Broxine continues to ask more questions to learn everything that might help her in the future. Now, you might wonder, what is Broxine trying to achieve with these questions, Saiku? Well, we'll understand Broxine's goals and personality from a conversation that appeared earlier in the story, but I held off on explaining it to avoid confusing you with the details. Moving on, the last question Broxine asks, after learning a great deal about Morena's hideout, her group, and even her past, is, does Morena ever consider changing her goal of destroying Kakin and the world? Is there any reason or opportunity that could make her abandon this goal? The answer is no. Morena is determined to achieve her goal no matter what. And in the world of Nen, the more resolute your goal is, and the more it's tied to your ability, the stronger and more dangerous your ability becomes. In the final round, Broxine selects the reinforcement card, and she wins the game, holding the card to hide the evidence. Morena congratulates her on her victory and asks her to choose a card from the graveyard, expecting that Broxine will select the unknown card to escape unscathed. But instead, Broxine chooses the yes card, deciding to join Morena's team. Morena asks, "Are you sure about your decision?" Broxine confirms her answer, stating that she will join. At this moment, a strange voice repeats the word error, and we realize that the voice comes from Morena's ability. If anyone cheats in the game, her manipulation ability activates automatically, stripping the player of any choice except yes or no. Morena knew Broxine had cheated, and while she didn't like it, since Broxine had chosen to join, it wasn't a problem. In the next scene, the other members of Morena's team applaud Broxine's official joining, and Broxine collapses exhausted as a reaction to officially becoming part of the game. Morena then explains some new things that we didn't know before. For example, her ability resembles a game application. Once the game starts, it cannot be deleted. It continues until it is completed, meaning reaching level 100, or until the manager, Morena, is killed, or until the phone on which the game is installed is destroyed. She also explains to Broxine that she is now free to do whatever she wants, including betraying or killing other members, but Morena will only intervene if it goes too far. Morena continues to explain that Broxine is currently at level 0. Once she fulfills the final condition, which is to witness and be present during the killing of someone by Morena or one of her members, she will move to level 1. As for the rest of the ability's explanation, you're already familiar with it. When Broxine reaches level 21, her Nen ability will awaken. She will increase by 1 level for each ordinary person she kills. She will increase by 10 levels if she kills a Nen user. She will rise by 50 levels if she kills one of the princes. Morena gives Broxine the freedom to do whatever she wants, but threatens her at the same time, warning that if she deems Broxine unnecessary, she will betray and kill her. This is when Broxine realizes that Morena can know everything she hears and sees, and begins to plan her next moves. She returns to her friends, now with a new goal, and before leaving, she asks Morena for some information about her companions. And so, the negotiation game ends. Now, moving on to a very important shift. Broxine's new goal. As we saw in chapter 394, Broxine and her friend's plan was to avoid any danger and never get involved in it because their main priority was survival. However, after hearing Morena's past and realizing how deeply corrupt the kingdom of Kakin is, even with all the changes, Broxine decides that she will try to change the state of the kingdom herself. She feels some sympathy for Morena, which is why she asks her a lot about her plans to change her goal. Broxine says, upon hearing Morena's past, "I don't particularly care much about national interests, responsibility, or national duty. I don't even care if Kakin collapses, but I don't want to see other people's ambitions suddenly ruin our peaceful days, which we thought would last forever. Since my early childhood, I've been learning at military school that my duty is to protect the security of my country, but deep down, I wish there would be no war throughout my life. Fortunately, I succeeded in joining the officer academy. Although just listening to the popular songs of an enemy country is a life-threatening risk in Kakin, they taught us in high school about the forbidden outside world. And even though we have the worst flood control system in the world, we are the world leaders in manufacturing surveillance satellites and in gathering intelligence. I never intended to live in such a country, only seeking a peaceful, quiet life, working a regular job, like being a trainer at a remote military school, or a secretary to the least deputy director of the public affairs office. Things started turning for the worse since Beyond's announcement about the new continent. How did I end up with superpowers and talking about humanity's extinction? Broxine's words reveal a lot about her character. It's as if Togashi is trying to write a new Kamugi, but in a different style. There are many thoughts in my head, and this makes it hard to predict what will happen. For example, as I told you, since Dogman and Krollo have met, and Krollo is also searching for a special ability to eliminate Hisoka, and all these 4 chapters were meant to recruit Broxine and make use of her ability, I strongly believe that Broxine's ability will fit Krollo's needs as much as it fits Morena's. Then I remember that Broxine and Morena are connected through Tserriednich, and this makes things even more complicated. All of this is happening under the customary law, Hulkenberg's plan, and Benjamin. There are many discussions, predictions, and analyses in my mind, but let's save each idea for a dedicated video. I hope I have explained this clearly to you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and support us with a like and comment. If you'd like to be a partner in improving the production quality and support the channel, you can find the support link in the description. Thank you for your continued support.